Today in Bible videos, we're gonna learn about the story of David and Absalom. Are you ready to hear the story? Let's get started. David had several sons by different wives. Absalom was his third oldest son. David's oldest son was called Amnon. Absalom's mother was the daughter of the king of Geshur. Absalom also had a sister called Tamar. There was big trouble in the family with Amnon and Tamar. When Absalom found out what had happened to his sister, he plotted revenge. 2 years later, Absalom got his servants to get Amnon drunk and then murdered him. And King David mourned many days for his son. And Absalom fled to hide in the land of Geshur for the next 3 years. David, although longing to see Absalom again, could not forgive him. Joab, the commander of David's armies, tried to resolve the problem by inviting a wise woman to see David. The woman arrived dressed as a widow in mourning clothes, and she explained, saying, "I had 2 sons, but they got into a fight and one killed the other. Now everyone is saying, 'Hand over the son who murdered so we can put him to death for taking the life of his brother. This son is all I have.'" Hearing that, David said, "Go home and I will issue an order to stop them killing your son." And the wise woman then said, "When the king says this, does he not convict himself? For the king has not brought back his banished son." So David summoned Absalom to come back to Jerusalem, and although he would not see him immediately, he later sent for Absalom. Absalom arrived and bowed face down before his father, who kissed him. And after that, Absalom became very proud. He provided himself with chariot and horses and 50 men to run ahead of him, and everyone praised him for his handsome appearance. Absalom was particularly proud of his hair, which he cut once a year, and the weight of the cut hair was 200 shekels, which is equal to 5 pounds. Absalom would sit by the city gate to meet those coming to the king for a judgment. And he would say, "I can see that you are right in this matter. It is a shame the king doesn't have anyone to assist him in hearing these cases." And he also said, "I wish I were the judge. Then anyone with a lawsuit could come to me and I would give him justice." And when anyone came to bow to him, Absalom wouldn't let him, but shook his head instead. So in this way, Absalom became very popular with the people of Israel. And after 4 years of gaining popularity, Absalom plotted to become king instead of his father David. He went to the king and asked permission to go to Hebron to keep a promise he had made with God and to make a sacrifice to him for bringing him back from Geshur. And David gave him permission to go. So Absalom and 200 of his guests went to Hebron, and when he got there, he sent messengers to every part of Israel to announce, "As soon as you hear the trumpets, you will know that Absalom has been crowned in Hebron." Men started gathering to support Absalom's rebellion. Ahithophel, one of David's trusted counselors, declared his support for Absalom. And Absalom and his rebel army started marching towards Jerusalem. A messenger soon arrived in Jerusalem to tell King David. He said, "All Israel has joined against Absalom in a conspiracy against you." So David decided to flee the city with his household and 600 loyal troops. And there was deep sadness in the city as the king left. David's head and feet were covered as a sign of mourning, and he wept as he walked away. The people with him covered their heads and wept also. When Absalom arrived in Jerusalem, he wondered what to do next. And David's former advisor, Ahithophel, urged him to pursue David while he was weary and discouraged. However, David had left a loyal advisor called Hushai in Jerusalem to give Absalom poor advice. Hushai told Absalom not to pursue David immediately, as he was a great fighter and there were mighty warriors with him. So Absalom listened to Hushai's advice, and David had time to make his escape. Ahithophel publicly shamed when Absalom didn't listen to him, so he returned to his hometown and killed himself. David made it to Mahanaim, where people brought him provisions. He organized his army under the command of Joab, Abishai, and Ittai. They insisted David did not go into the battle with them. Absalom and his troops advanced to find David, and battle broke out in the forest of Ephraim. And the battle raged throughout the forest, and 20,000 men were killed. During the battle, Absalom came across some of David's troops and fled on a mule. As the mule went beneath the thick boughs of a great oak tree, Absalom's hair got caught in the branches. His mule went on, leaving him dangling in the air. And one of David's men saw him and told Joab. Joab asked the man why he had not killed Absalom. And the soldier replied, saying, "We all heard the king say to you and Abishai and Ittai, 'For my sake, please don't harm young Absalom.'" And Joab replied, saying, "Enough of this nonsense." And then he took 3 daggers and plunged them into the heart of Absalom as he dangled from the oak. And they threw Absalom's body into a deep pit in the forest and piled a great heap of stones over it, and Absalom's army fled to their homes. A messenger told David, "Blessed be the Lord your God, who has destroyed the rebels who dared to stand against you." And the king demanded, "What of young Absalom? Is he all right?" But the messenger replied, saying, "May all of your enemies be as that young man is." Then the king burst into tears and went up to his room wailing, "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I could have died for you. Oh, Absalom, my son, my son." And as people heard of the king's deep grief for his son, the joy of victory was turned into deep sadness. And David later returned to Jerusalem to reign as king of Israel once more. The end. And I hope you had fun learning the story of David and Absalom. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more Bible videos. Bye.